welcome everybody to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is Monday, July 1st, 2024. Let's get our sidekick in here, Gary Kendrick. How you doing, Gary?
Hey, everybody.
Good to have you on again today. I understand you're on vacation.
Yeah, we're down in Isle of Palm, South Carolina, soaking it up right now.
Don't blame you. It's a good place to be.
Yes, sir.
And then, of course, without further ado, we're going to welcome our guest tonight, Mike. Here, let's see if I butcher it. Familant.
There it is. It wasn't too bad.
Woo!
See? It's just like getting needled at a doctor's office. You thought it was going to be worse than it was. It's not too bad. How's everybody doing tonight?
We're all good.
Good.
Great.
Good.
Thanks. Thank you again so much for having me on. I know I thanked you before the show, but thank you again for having me on. It's going to be a fun little time we're going to have tonight.
Oh yeah, we'll have a good time. We've already got our regulars in here. We got Buttworm and Tennessee Cherokee, and I'm sure the rest will follow here real soon. So glad to have you guys on. But Gary, Mike, just so that you know, Gary is my researcher.
Awesome.
He likes to research about each guest, and then he'll work up his questions. So I usually keep my mouth quiet. unless there's something I need to put my 2 cents in, but typically it'll be all Gary.
I got you. Sounds good to me.
Well, Mike, I'm glad to have you on the show. It's a real pleasure. It's Mike Familant, young guy, 34, young guy. I'd like to go back and be 34 again, for real.
Yeah.
Oof. You have a background in EMS, fire and paramedic, and graphic design, that's a pretty impressive resume right there. You host a couple of shows. You have In the Shadow of the Big Red Eyes, and you also have a really interesting, and I hope I'm going to get this right, YouTube channel, Sussex County Bigfoot.
Yeah. Sussex County Bigfoot NJ. That's my it's my YouTube channel, and on there you could find my YouTube show, In the Shadow of Big Red Eye. We're currently filming our 8th season. There's over 250 episodes on there for you guys to check out. New one just came out literally 2 hours ago. We were down in Florida, so that's an awesome episode. And we also have a little docuseries that I did a couple years back called Squatchables. And that's like, if you've never been into Bigfooting, I tell you how to get into Bigfooting. It's like kind of like a how to find a Bigfoot 101 type thing. And I did that because I paid a lot of money initially to go on my first Bigfooting expedition. And I kind of want people not to have to do that. They shouldn't have to pay a ton of money to get into something that they would like to try. So that's why I made the series Squatchables.
Yep.
Wait, that's a good call. I'm going to mark that one off my list. We're going to talk about that. We'll get into that later.
Oh, sorry.
One thing that I found, you do a lot of work at the libraries. You do a lot of speaking at libraries all throughout the United States. And it's not just in your general area. I know you're a native of New Jersey, but it's not just there. It's all over the United States. And I think that's a wonderful thing that you bring, this stuff to because a lot of kids are interested in it.
Yeah.
When you bring it to the library, that makes it a little more local, and you get a lot of people that come in. But one thing that it says is that you have evidence-based in fact. And as fire, paramedic, and EMS, facts-based evidence is a really good practice. And I was former correction, so I know. But how do you actually go through your facts-based evidence?
Well, anytime I find something I like to say there's no experts in the field. I think we've all kind of can agree on that. So with that being said, is when I find evidence of something, for example, let it be audio evidence. If I come across something that I think could be Bigfoot related, what I'll do is, instead of just saying, "Oh, this is Bigfoot," and posting it all over the internet to let people, think about, what I like to do is, before I release it to anybody, I'll send that away to a professional in the field. And in this case, I have a linguist that does, has a background in the military, so he can analyze my audio very well, And then when he comes back with his report that says, okay, this is or is not Bigfoot related, then it's like, okay, that's kind of cool because that's coming from someone who's pretty high ranking up in the, in the community, I guess, if you will.
I know who you're talking about, but go ahead.
Yeah. No, and it's cool. We actually got a vocalization from a couple years back from High Point State Park, and I did a barred owl call, and about 2 seconds later, we got this three howls back, and they were the clearest thing. 5 of us got them on audio recording, which is amazing. And I sent it away to this guy, and he came back and he said, thinks it's more higher of a probability than not that we had a Bigfoot in the area. And I think that's phenomenal.
It's really good. I've actually heard a lot of people talk about Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, the grass man, whatever, making owl calls.
Yeah.
And that's, throughout native legends, there's a lot of, stories about how they make owl calls to draw people in. Mike, have you ever had any sightings or experiences?
No, I've never seen a Bigfoot. I spent 129 nights tent camping last year, just looking for Bigfoot. So that's kind of my MO. When I go and talk at these libraries and go across the country, I tent camp so I can film my show and stuff. It's really a cool thing I got going. But no, I've never seen one. I could talk about some of the experiences I've had. My first experience, I could touch on it. I've told it before, but I'll touch on it. Is we were in North Florida on a expedition, a Bigfoot expedition, and it was the final night, and we hear a tree knock, and nothing happened this whole expedition. So we hear a tree knock, and it's like 2 a.m. Everybody else is asleep. My buddy and I are around with the campfire, just watching meteor shower, and we hear a knock come from one direction of camp, and we thought, ooh, that's pretty interesting. But I didn't think anything of it. I thought we were being hoaxed by the people that put on the expedition. But anyways, about a minute later, we hear a knock from the complete opposite direction. Then 5 minutes goes by, and a fist-sized rock comes crashing down, lands 5 feet from us, right? So I'm like, absolutely not. This is how horror movies start. I am out of here. And Jimmy was like, my buddy who I was with, he was like, well, if you want to sleep in the car, you're more than welcome to sleep in it. And by the time he said that, I had my sleeping bag and I was just beelining it right to the car. Anyways, I digress. He comes up to the car and he's like, Mike, Bigfoots knock on trees and they throw rocks. Like, this could be squatchy activity that we're having. That's the whole reason why we're here, is to look for Bigfoot. So I said, yeah, I suppose you're right. So I went back by the campfire. Over the course of the next 15 minutes, 4 more of these fist-sized rocks come landing down 5 to 10 feet away from us. So now my buddy comes up, Jimmy comes up. He's like, Mike, I got an idea. I'm going to throw a rock back at it. I said, Jimmy, I don't think that's a good idea, man. So he takes a rock and he chucks it back in that general direction. And I knew it wasn't a person at that exact moment because like a 15-pound laptop-sized boulder came crashing down, landed 5 feet from us. So that was my first experience. That 15 minutes changed the course and the path of my life forever. It was a phenomenal experience.
Yep.
I will say this: Billy says that I do a lot of research on our guests, so I have some pretty good information on everybody. You spent 129 nights camping. And you were disappointed in the tent quality that you had.
Oh, I think I went through 3 tents. I just went through another one. I had to overnight it from Amazon. But the thing is, like, I abuse the tents. Like, I'm not just like using them like recreationally. This is like a housing situation 8 months out of the year for me, if you think about it. So I get that they're not designed to withstand, and it always seems to be crappy weather when I camp. It's always raining. There's never, I think, out of the 129 nights I camped last year, it rained 128 of them, it seemed. So
then you need to camp over here. Yeah, I need some.
Yeah, I'll bring you the rain. Hey, and let me just go camping.
The reason I said that was you left a review on one of the tents on Amazon, and you were not. that actually popped up in some of my research.
Oh,
I just thought that was funny.
golly. Okay. I don't know what I said, but it must have been very interesting.
It was long. It was a good one.
Oh.
One of the things I want to talk about is you're doing it's the Search America Tour 2024. And I'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, that's my 2024 library tour, Search in America Live 2024, and we're hitting up close to 100 venues this year. I think we're sitting at about 88 right now that I have scheduled, and it's really cool. It's an hour-long presentation, mostly at libraries, but some other events and festivals and conferences, stuff like that. And we try to answer the who, what, where, when, and why of what Bigfooting is all about. It's pretty popular. I think our average presentation last year, our average group size was about 26 people, which is phenomenal. That's for any library, local libraries we go to, that's like phenomenal for them.
Wonderful.
So we do that, and not only do we get people that are interested in Bigfoot to come out and try to learn a little bit about it. You mentioned we have a lot of kids that come out and that are learning about the whole outdoors. And fun fact for you, that this year's summer reading program theme is Adventure Begins at the Library. So that's why I got a lot of bookings this year. I was not complaining about that theme at all. But my whole point of hitting these, I did 100 venues last year, 80 something this year, is the whole point of getting my mission statement, which is to try to get friends and families like off the couch and into nature more. To see something that you wouldn't see sitting on the couch every day. Yeah. I think that's post-COVID, everybody is so connected to their phones. It's ridiculous. And I challenge anybody that is listening today or comes to my presentations. I would challenge you to, take that hike that you've been putting off taking for the last 3 years, that one that you haven't been doing. Take that hike, just see something that you wouldn't see every day, normally.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. A couple other things. Like I said, you have a YouTube channel called Sussex County Bigfoot. I've actually watched some of your videos on there. You have some really interesting stuff on there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Would you care to talk about, I know you have a lot of thermals and stuff like that on there. Would you care to talk about any of the stuff there on the Sussex County Bigfoot?
Yeah, so that's my bread and butter. That's our YouTube channel, In the Shadow of Big Red. That's where you can find my show there, and Squatchables, and all my other kind of mini episodes that I put together. You can go on there. We have a video of, it's a video, but an audio of some of the best. We've talked about that Bigfoot howl that we got before from that was from High Point State Park. You can listen to that over there. Also from near the exact same area that we got that howl not too long ago. I think it was about 2 years ago now. I got what I believe to be a possible thermal anomaly recorded on Therm. I don't know what it is. It's up for interpretation. Anybody could take a look at it. We went back, tried to do a recreation, failed miserably. So I don't know what that could have been, but that's also on the YouTube channel. If you want to see me get sprayed with bear mace, that's also up there. So yeah, it's all good fun times here at In the Shadow of Big Red Eye.
And that was something else too I was going to mention is the show that you do In the Shadow of the Big Red Eye. Would you care to talk about that and where people can watch that at?
Yeah. Just log on to YouTube, click the subscribe button. Like I said, we have new episodes come out every Monday, 7:00. But the whole reason why I made the show was like, this is back started the show back in 2016. And that's when I moved back to New Jersey from Florida. I was living in Florida at the time. Moved back to New Jersey, and I guess I was really bored because I was watching like all the TV shows about Bigfoot, right? I'm not going to name any of them, but all the shows that were on back in the day, and they're all like very entertaining and fun. However, they didn't accurately portray the way Bigfooting necessarily is done. Anybody that's a field researcher that's listens to the show, I think, can agree with that. So I wanted to make a show that was true to Bigfooting and what Bigfooting is. So like those TV shows are made for ratings, and they have a lot of money behind them and stuff like that. My show's not. Like I just started 6 or 8 years later making money off of YouTube. It took 8 years for me to make money. So that's obviously not my intention behind the show at all. What the intention is like I said, A, to get people outside into the woods, and B, just to show people how fun Bigfooting is. Like even if it's not, I always tell people, even if Bigfooting is inherently a little scary, and not many people are into, not a lot of people are into being scared, night hiking and all that good stuff that Bigfooting entails. So I would challenge anybody to take up something else, a different hobby, like fishing. I like fishing now. I never used to think I'd like that. I could rub 2 sticks together and make fire. Like, that's crazy. Never thought I could do that. Or like photography, hiking, backpacking, anything outdoors is better than anything inside, I think.
Excellent. I know you talk about, your shows and things like that. And I mentioned it before, you had some good thermal stuff on there and stuff like that. Young guy, you're about 34 right now. You use a lot of technology. What all do you carry when you go into the field to do these investigations?
Oh yeah. Well, generally our setup is we do, and some people, I'm going to get pushback that say, oh, the best way to find Bigfoot is not to bring any technology in the field at all. I totally agree with that. The best way you're going to find Bigfooting, my show involves doing vocalizations and tree knocks and stuff like that. Granted, the best way you're going to be able to look for Bigfoot, and the best way to probably get evidence of Bigfoot is to take a chair, go out there, sit there with no technology, and listen for all night. Just sit there. That's probably the best way you're going to get evidence of Bigfoot. However, that makes, I have found, for a very poor show. So we do these tree knocks and stuff to try to, it's fun, it's entertaining, and a lot of people do Bigfooting that way, and that's the way I was brought up doing Bigfooting, so that's the way we do it. Just a different technique. But anyways, the stuff we bring out in the woods, we do have our FLIR thermal camera. I just got this guy in. He's our brand new Canon little filming camera for the show. That cost me an arm and a leg. If you'd like to support the show, we have an Etsy account, etsy.com/shop/shadow of red eye. I'm half kidding about that, but no, we have voice recorders we bring in. I think voice recorders are the easiest, probably best way to get evidence of Bigfoot. Let's see, because we talked about how to analyze that before and send it away. Let's see. We got mentioned our camera. That has thermal capabilities on that filming camera, so it's we could film at night, which is very important. And I think the most valuable tool that anybody can bring into the woods would be like some sort of animal caller. Like, I always use a deer caller, and that's try to attract Bigfoot to come into you. I don't think every time that you call Bigfoot, you have to be doing a Bigfoot call. That could scare him away initially. A good way to, I think, start, a night off is like a soft whistle, a soft knock, or even like a deer call or a known animal call.
There's a lot of native legends, especially the Cherokee and the Navajo and several other tribes, that Sasquatch does whistle at night. And I think that's an excellent move myself. Another question that I always ask the guests is animal, mineral, or vegetable. Do you believe that Bigfoot is an animal? In the mineral part of it, do you think it might be possibly interdimensional or maybe an alien? Or vegetable, do you think it's something supernatural, or do you believe it's a combination of all?
That's a great question. I get asked this a lot. It's probably one of the main things that comes up at my presentations. And I start off every presentation by saying that I think Bigfoot is a biological creature. I think it's here on this earth, just like a chicken or a duck or a turkey. Some people do believe the mineral and the other whatever aspect of it, and I think that's fine. I think if you have a thought on Bigfoot, you're ahead of the game, right? So I think that's interesting, you know. But here's the thing: I don't put down any other theories, right? And I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, we as people, we like to think that we know everything, but the reality is we just don't. We don't know everything, right? So Bigfoot may have these capabilities that we as people just don't understand yet. I'm not saying that, you know, Bigfoot can jump into a spaceship and take off. Don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, like, you know, there could be these capabilities that Bigfoot does have. That's why it's so hard to get any physical evidence or video evidence or any type of evidence of Bigfoot on camera, or makes it so hard for these creatures to, you know, easy for them to remain hidden.
I like to use some simple creatures when we talk about different abilities. You know, like, for example, what do you think man thought the first time they saw a bug flying in the air with a light on its butt? You know, I mean, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, simple things. You know, things that we take for granted because we see them every day. You know, you got an electric eel that can generate electricity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so when you think about it, I mean, we have a lot of different biological animals that can do things that
crazy things.
Yeah.
And the thing is, back in the day, we didn't know the science behind it. We didn't have the technology that answered the questions of why those creatures were capable of doing the things that they're doing. And like I said, I don't think Bigfoot can necessarily, like, you know, have a butt up or light up his butt or anything like that, or I don't think Bigfoot can physically shock you. But what I do think is Bigfoot may have these capabilities that us as people just don't understand yet.
Yeah.
Digger Dog put in a little thing right here. I'll pop it up.
Yeah. Yep.
So quantum mechanics possibly answers some of these abilities. And that kind of goes back to the Ron Moorhead, the quantum Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this a lot too. Nobody has one tied up in the barn.
No.
Okay. I don't have one tied up in the barn. I can go out and check stuff like that. With that being said, something that I want to bring up is your show, In the Shadow of the Big Red Eyes. There's a lot of talk about red eyes. Like I said, I'm down here in South Carolina on a vacation with my wife and my oldest son and my 7-year-old nephew. And we had a maintenance issue that needed to be addressed. And the maintenance guy come in, and he's originally from Minnesota. And he talked to me for a minute while he was working on stuff. And he said, "So you're from the mountains?" He said, "Have you ever seen Bigfoot?" And I was like, "Yeah." And we started talking. And
well, he's the right guy to ask. I mean, geez.
So when he was in Minnesota, there was a place that him and his family hunted, and one of his family members said, you know, don't go out after dark. And him and some of his hunting buddies went out, and they said they saw these huge red eyes. And he said, every night that you went out, you saw these huge red eyes. And he says that he thinks they're bioluminescent, was his explanation. And I even asked him, I said, do you think it could have been eye shine? And he said, well, if I had a flashlight and had been shining it, he said, I would have told you it was eye shine. He said, we didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
And just these big red eyes. So what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that possibly Bigfoot might have bioluminescent eyes, or do you think that that's just eye shine from ambient light?
I think it's a great theory that Bigfoot could have bioluminescent eyes, but I don't think that it's possible. The reasoning behind that is no land animals besides lightning bugs, obviously, could produce this eye shine or bioluminescence that we talk about. I think that Bigfoot have extremely great vision. And with that comes extremely great night vision, a lot different than we have. So I think even the very most dim twinkle from a star can take this. Bigfoot is going to take that ambient light from that shining star and be able to gather all that light from it and produce this glow, just like other animals do. But it's not a glow; it's a shine. It's a reflection of this ambient light, or the moonlight, or the starlight, or the street light, or whatever light that it can gather. That's how it can see at night. And that's my theory. I do know a lot of researchers who I am very happy to call my friends, who swear that they, during their research, have seen Bigfoot turn on and off this eye shine or eye glow, and I have never seen it, so I can't say that I think Bigfoot can do this. I'd like to stay on the scientific almost side of things for the most part. But if I see it, I'd love for my mind to be changed, just like the other theories out there. You know, if Bigfoot's interdimensional or anything, or related to UFOs or orbs or something, I would love to see it, or I would love for somebody to show me evidence that could change my mind.
I'm like you. I believe a lot of the eye shine comes from just its ability to be nocturnal. I think it works a whole lot kind of like a military starlight scope, where it actually absorbs all of the ambient light, so it can see better at night. That's my personal theory.
I agree. Yep.
Another thing too is, I know you work with fact-based evidence, and I think that's a wonderful thing, because that's not a lot. That doesn't happen a lot in our Sasquatch community. Okay,
Right.
That's all I'm gonna say. It does not happen a lot. Every stick that breaks in the woods, I believe, is not Sasquatch.
Right.
But with that being said, it's been brought up that we have a lot of trace evidence, but we don't have any hard evidence. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think there's a lot of Bigfoot out in the woods. When you say hard evidence, I'm assuming you mean like a body type thing.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's my thoughts on that is there's not a lot of Bigfoot. I'm along with the 2000-ish number theory about that's how many of them live in the United States. I do think they all live in most every state. I believe they either pass through or live in every state except Hawaii. But they're few and far between. For example, I think New Jersey has like 2 family groups of Bigfoot that live in them. And I think they live in family groups of anywhere from 3 to 10, 12 people. I don't know. So I don't think that there's a lot of Bigfoot that live in certain areas. So with that being said, if they're biological, which I think we are on the same page about, they have to die at some point in their life, which means that they have to leave their remains somewhere. And I get asked the question 1,000 times over, Mike, where are the bones? Well, I would challenge anybody that's been in the woods for any substantial amount of time, whether it be hiking, hunting, whatever you may do, looking for mushrooms, I don't know, whatever you do in the woods. Has anybody ever come across a bear skeleton in the woods? And everybody's minds are just boom, because nobody has ever come across a bear skeleton in the woods. We know that they're there. We know that there's a substantial amount of them, literal tons of them in some places. I could tell you, the amount of times that I've come across a live bear in the woods, and that's like, I can count them on 2 hands. And we live in we have the most dense population of black bear east of the Mississippi, the county with the most dense population of bear east of the Mississippi. So if that goes to show you how hard it is to find remains of just a living animal, let alone an animal that quite honestly may or may not exist, it's very improbable to come across unless the way that we're going to get a Bigfoot body. And I believe, unfortunately, if I'm rambling too much, you can stop me.
No,
You're fine.
If science needs a Bigfoot body, there's only there's one primate, I think 2 primates in the world that have ever been classified with no body, right? And they're actually two primates, and they were classified because there were so many pictures of these monkeys and primates that they couldn't deny their existence. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. With Bigfoot, That's not going to happen. Bigfoot, we're going to need a body. Science needs a body to prove one of these things. So if you're a researcher, question your motives on what you actually want to accomplish when you get into Bigfoot research. I'm not in it to kill one of these things. I don't want to prove their existence. For me, I just want to know what threw rocks at me in Florida. Mm-hmm. That's my thing.
Yep. You know, under the thing about bones, one of the big things which I read entirely too much, but as far as that goes, finding evidence of bones or something like that, we know chimpanzees they're a known animal. They're a known primate. They live. To my knowledge, there's only been fossil evidence found, and it was part of her lower jawbone, and I think of 3 teeth that they think may have come from the same individual that's been discovered in Africa. And that is a known animal.
Yeah.
With that being said, too, they've also discovered now a fossilized lemur in Madagascar that they estimate was possibly the size of a gorilla.
Wow.
So, you know, with that being said, there's not a lot of evidence to, you know, support like a chimpanzee. You know, we don't have any fossil evidence, but we know they're there. So when people come up with the whole, you know, hey, where's the bones at? You know, where's the dead bodies? You know, blah, 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 whatever. When you have something like that dies, it probably only take about 7 days before the carcass gets scattered by other predators and things like that. Yep. And like I said, that falls back into the facts-based evidence, which, you know, like I said, I'm excited, you know, that a young guy like you is really into the facts-based evidence. That's really going to support a lot of what we do.
People don't realize too, like back to the bones, porcupines eat bones, mice eat bones. You know, people don't realize that. So you can go from you and me living, you hit the nail on the head when you said 7 days to be scattered, 14 days until you can't find me anymore.
Yeah.
so and that's under the right circumstances, you know.
And there's only a few bones, I think, out there that you know, we'll use a wild hog, for example. The bigger bones like your femur and possibly your skull that they can't crack. And those are going to be scattered to the winds within just a short amount of time.
Yeah. All right, it's time, Mike. It's time.
All right, let's see how this is going to go.
Everybody knows what time it is. It's time to do a artificial intelligence song about Mike Familant. So let's see how this goes.
Mike Familant packs his gear, hits the trail before the sun, with a heart full of wonder and miles to run. He's got his camera ready, footprints in his sights, chasing down the legend through the long dark nights. In the shadow of Big Red Eye, he's searching for the truth. Through the forest deep and wide, Mike follows every clue. From the mountains to the valleys, under the starry skies, Mike's quest never falters for Bigfoot's elusive guise. From the Appalachians to the Rockies, he treads the path unseen. Every rustle in the bushes, every broken branch a dream. He's got tales from the locals, whispers in the breeze of a giant hairy creature that moves through the trees. In the shadow of Big Red Eye, he's searching for the truth. Through the forest deep and wide, Mike follows every clue. From the mountains to the valleys, under the starry skies, Mike's quest never falters for Bigfoot's elusive guides. From the Appalachians to the Rockies, he treads the path unseen. Every rustle in the bushes, every broken branch a dream. He's got tales from the locals, whispers in the breeze of a giant hairy creature that moves through the trees. In the shadow of Big Red Eye, he's searching for the truth. Through the forest deep and wide, Mike follows every clue. From the mountains to the valleys, under the starry skies, Mike's quest never falters. For Bigfoot's elusive guides, for Bigfoot's elusive guides. Late at night by the fire, he tells stories bold and grand. The shadows in the moonlight and giant footprints in the sand. With his eyes wide open and his heart set on the prize, he'll keep on searching till the day he finds. He knows there's magic in the unseen, in what can't be proved, but he feels it in the silence, in the way the trees are moved. So he marches on relentless through every storm and tide. In the shadow of Big Red Eye, he's got nothing left to hide. He knows Big Red Eye, he's got nothing left to hide. He's got nothing left to hide.
What do you think, Mike?
I think you're gonna have to send me that because that's my new theme song.
That's what I was thinking to say. If the Shadow of the Big Red Eyes doesn't have a theme song, it does now.
It's yeah. That's it. Wow, that was amazing. That was so cool. Wow, yeah, that's an amazing now if just a person put some thought behind that, it would have been even better. No, I'm just kidding. That was awesome. Oh man.
Oh, look at here. Looks like we got while the song was playing, we got a question that came in.
All right.
Jay said, does this gentleman think that all hairy creatures, aka Bigfoot or skunk ape, are the same things?
Yeah, I think that they're all related, like cousins. Just like you go to different areas of the country, you have different types of bear. It could be that you may have different types of Bigfoot that live in the different parts of the country, or you could have more than one kind of one species of Bigfoot. I think that's probably more the viable option is just have. It'd be very difficult for North America to just support different species of Bigfoot because they also have to, intermingle together, right? So, and be able to support the population, which I think I saw on one of your comments is you would need to have more than 2,000 to support the population. If they're spread out in a good area with enough people to support this population, 2,000 is more than enough to be able to maintain a population of anything. But yeah, it's about where they are and what they are. We don't know. That's the thing. Now if you get different continents, they may have different types of Bigfoot. Like the Yeti may have that unusual footprint that we see. The Yowie is said to be a lot smaller, so that could be a different type of sub creature of Bigfoot.
Yep. Excellent. That was a good question.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good question. Talking about the Yowie, there's several different names for Bigfoot throughout the world. Sasquatch, the Grass Man. Some people will say the Wendigo, which I think is a different legend entirely. But anyway, you was talking about the Yowie, which is supposed to be smaller. And then one thing that I like to talk about is the orang pendek. And it actually supposedly has a divergent big toe.
Yes.
Which might mean that it's a more primitive, maybe it's an ancestor or something like that. But what's your thoughts on that?
Definitely. It would make sense that the further back you go, the older you're going to be when you have a divergent toe, like the orang pendek does. Smaller, more human-like could mean that it. And I think it reports the orang pendek to have it be very human-like. Humans scream when they see somebody. Their reports of them, I believe, are not more than 6 feet tall, with a divergent toe, like you stated. So, yeah, they could be definitely a subdivision of human, but then you have to look at that kind of area too, because we're always finding a bunch of new types of species in that in that area, where the orang pendek and Sumatra is supposed to be found. So it's definitely a great place to have a subculture of humans living, since we're always finding all these new species there. So is it possible? Is it plausible? I don't know if it's plausible, but is it possible? Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always think the possibilities are out there. Whether it's plausible or not could be, a different story.
Absolutely.
But, throughout Asia, and I'm going to kind of hop in here a little bit, Japanese food. I spent a year in Japan. My wife loves the Japanese hibachi and stuff like that. And
Nice.
Anybody that eats, at these Japanese steakhouses and stuff a lot, the people that work there are probably not Japanese. Most of them are actually Indonesian.
Okay.
And one of the guys at the restaurant we ate at here a little while back was Indonesian, and it was in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Well, it's actually Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And I asked him, I said, "You ever see the orang pendek?" And this guy's probably 4 foot something, not a very big person at all. And he laughed and he said, "Yeah, that's me." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he actually told me what orang pendek means, and he says it means the small man of the forest.
Ah.
And he said, "I'm a small man of the forest." And I was like, "All right, then that cleared a lot of that up."
So you found him. We're done.
Yeah,
We don't have to worry about it.
Going back to your original experience that you had in 2011, I believe was the date on it.
Yes.
And it was in North Florida, and it was a rock throwing experience.
Yeah.
Do you think that might have some type of aggressive background to it? That it was telling you guys to move?
So we camped when we got there. There were like 60 other people there looking for Bigfoot. So I was like, how are we going to find Bigfoot with 60 other people here? This is crazy. So we camped far away from everybody because we thought everybody was just going to be weird. Right. So anyways, the first time ever camping. So we got those rocks thrown at us the last night. I think nobody else had any activity at all. So we asked around the next day, and I think the reason why we got those rocks thrown at us, because A, we were probably the only people up, B, we were closer to the family group of Bigfoot wherever they were chilling, because we were so much further away. We were 50 yards away from everybody else, that much closer to Bigfoot. They wanted us to get out of the area, and they must have felt uncomfortable with us being there. So I think by throwing those rocks and knocking on the trees, they were probably trying to intimidate us and saying, "Hey, you're too close to us, so let's get out of the area." Something very similar happened to me up in Whitehall, New York. It lasted 6 minutes where we were getting rocks thrown at us. We were getting tree knocks, very aggressive styles of things happening. And we went back the next day, and we saw a tree that was upright the day prior, but now at a 90-degree angle across the trail. It was about a 10-inch diameter tree, so it was outside of human range to do. So that was super interesting. But yeah, to answer your question, I do think it was when you do have aggressive Bigfoot activity, I think it's because you're too close to their family group, and they probably just want to get you out of the area.
Another thing I wanted to hit on real quick, and this is kind of the last thing, and I'm going to turn it over to Billy after that, is we were talking about, your search across America, and you have literally been pretty much coast to coast.
Well, East Coast, yeah. East of the Mississippi. You name it, I've probably been there.
So searching for Bigfoot throughout all these different areas, and we've talked about a small remnant population. Do you think that possibly inbreeding plays an effect into what people would consider different species? I know one of the different species that people talk about is the gugway, that's supposed to have a snout more like a baboon.
Right.
And I've heard several people say that, it looked like a chimp that possibly had Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
here's the
thought
thing
on that?
With inbreed Bigfoot, it's I think inevitable. I hate to say that, but I think it's the truth. But when it comes to after the baby is born, like again, we're just saying this is a biological thing. Bigfoot is probably not gonna last if it has any sort of sorts of learning issues, or growing issues, any sort of issues that would render it to be different from the norm. I don't think a Bigfoot would survive the elements. You need to eat a lot if you're a Bigfoot. And if you don't have the capabilities of doing that, I don't think you're going to starve. You're not going to be able to do it. So I think you have to have a solid mindset about you to be able to survive in the woods. Anybody does. A human does. You put a human in the woods, and it's only a matter of time before they don't survive anymore. We're not meant to be out in the woods, right? A Bigfoot, it has to be. So I think when you have that inbreeding, and I used to think that the way we were gonna find Bigfoot would be to have a developmentally challenged Bigfoot run across somebody with a camera. But now that now that I've thought about that theory time and time again, I can honestly say I don't think a Bigfoot would survive to be that old to be able to do that.
Yeah,
It's a good answer. Answer. Billy, that's all I got. Mike, you're an excellent dude, man.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So, Mike, I know you've been around the block a few times. So, we see and we hear all about these stick structures and these tree formations that you find out in the forest. Do you think these things could be Bigfoot related, or do you think it's something else?
I don't. That's a great one. Nobody has ever seen a Bigfoot make one of these structures before. So right there, I think to attribute a Bigfoot, unless you find something else that goes along with it, whether it be hair sample footprint, even these interwoven structures. I mean, I don't think people are going around doing them, but I think you got some crazy wind and some crazy storms out there that could do some crazy things. Some of these things, I would love to see the storm that could do them though. So,
yeah.
When you start getting a pattern to things, I think that's when you start looking and opening your eyes to saying, okay, this is something that's done on purpose and with intelligence. If you have those two things, then you could start attributing it to being either a person or something other than a person, like Bigfoot, something with an actual, brain that is doing these things on purpose. But just for an anomalous structure in the woods, I don't know. I found in the past, in my little area that I used to go to all the time, an upside down tree that was wedged into the ground. Wasn't there a week prior, because I was going there like every week. And that was kind of crazy. I don't know what that could have been, other than like a tornado that didn't disrupt any other tree or a Bigfoot, So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what they are, but they're definitely it's better to document than not document when it comes to that kind of stuff. I mean, because we just don't know.
Yeah, I always used to say, to document everything so that you can find a pattern if there is one.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
And here's my thing. So I have a theory that Bigfoot are nomadic. I think they follow the food. Depending on what part of New Jersey you're in, Bigfoot sightings increase 80% every third year. And I think that's because of their food patterns, what they eat. So, and I'm not going to get into it too much, but I would challenge any researcher in your area or their own areas to look at their sightings and say, hey, maybe we can find a pattern like that, right? And if we start getting these puzzle pieces all in different parts of the country and getting each researcher to kind of like theorize and find cool little tidbits of facts about their little areas of research, we're going to start putting them together. And as soon as we start putting them together, the picture is going to become more clear. We're going to be seeing what we're going to look at, and Bigfoot's not going to be able to hide from us too much longer.
Billy, if I could have just a second,
Yep.
Digger Dog put up a question, and he said, what did the natives say? And I'm assuming that he's talking about the inbreeding thing. And, I, being part Native American, I always take up on the Native side. So I'm going to address that a little bit. Depending on what tribe, it's what Mick said. And that's 100% correct. It depends on what tribe. But throughout Cherokee and Shawnee history, which is the two tribes that I'm related to, there are tons of stories about Bigfoot who has taken a female from the tribe and has bred with them and has had viable offspring. And there's, like I said, thousands of stories of this happening. And then, of course, too, there's thousands of stories too on, like the Cherokee say that there's two different types of Bigfoot. One they call the Suklu and one they call the Nunue. And one of them lived with the Cherokee people and actually helped the tribe. They would bring food, they would bring firewood and things like that. And the other one actually preyed on the natives, and they would eat their brains and their liver, which kind of makes sense when you think about it, because that's probably the two most fatty organs that you have. Mm-hmm. And, for a wild animal, that's something that they look. But, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to step in on that a little bit.
No, that's good to know. Good to know. All right, here's another theory. And I say theory because we don't know. What are your thoughts on the ability of Bigfoot to produce infrasound?
Oh, that's another great thing. I think it's capable. Other primates are capable of producing infrasound that we know of. So I think it's possible that Bigfoot can produce it. Here's my thing, and I know we're almost out of time. So I think I did a hike a couple years ago. I've done this trail 100, tens of times. I can't even say 100 times, but I've done it a lot, right? So I can do this trail backwards, upside down, left, right, daytime, nighttime, blindfolded, you name it. I could do the trail. It's not a problem. I do solo hikes all the time. I'm more than comfortable being in the woods solo by myself at night. Not a bad thing for me. Walking, get dropped off at the trailhead, start walking into this hike. I get about a quarter of the mile. This is also on the YouTube channel because it's all documented. Where actually, like, I feel like I hit a brick wall, and I'm like, oh man, something does not want me here. All the hair stood up on the back of my head. I got the goosebumps, and I'm like, oh man, this isn't good. Something doesn't want me here. And then I looked over and I saw a tree break that wasn't there the week prior. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I stood there for a minute, and I called my buddy who dropped me off. He was supposed to pick me up at the other trailhead. But I called him and I'm like, dude, you're gonna have to come and pick me up and grab me, because I can't do this hike. And it was the only hike that I've never finished. So I don't know if that was Bigfoot infrasound. I've never been more scared in the woods before, I don't think. So it's the only time that's ever happened. So I don't know.
I know the feeling, Mike. I know the feeling. And the similar thing happened to me right outside of Richmond, Virginia, of all places, near the airport that they have out there. There's some land out there that we come to find out later that used to be, Gary, Native American land, because they were finding some different types of Native American pottery and different things there. But that same thing happened to me during a time someone was having a sighting about 100 feet away.
Oh, wow.
And I'd never reacted like that before. Matter of fact, mine was so bad, I laid down on the ground in the fetal position. And couldn't figure out. I got completely disoriented. I didn't even know where I was at.
Wow.
So whatever that is, some people call it a zap. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Infrasound, whatever it is. But I knew exactly how you felt at that moment.
Yeah. It's good to be able to share that feeling with another person. And I'm assuming that's how Bigfoot sighting, when I see a Bigfoot, that's going to be how it's going to be too, is you're just going to be It's going to be awesome. That's another reason why I do these library presentations, to allow people that have had sightings to come out and share it with them.
Yeah,
Because
right.
these people have never, a lot of them have never shared their experience before.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
they're afraid to, because they think they're going to get laughed at, made fun of, ridiculed. And that's another reason my car is all decked out. It says Bigfoot research all over it.
Yep.
And I do that for a reason. It's because it gives people an outlet to share their encounters.
Yeah. Mike, let me tell you, I'm telling you right now, Mick, if she's a listener of this show, I sure hope that you have some kind of, like, you know, witness protection program or something, because many jokes he's put out about his ex-mom's mother, or ex-wife's mother.
That's the best one yet, right there, I think. I'd like to argue that with him, but I can't. I know that feeling too, Mick.
Well, Mick, it's been a great time, man. I'm so glad you were able to come on. Sorry I missed you when you was out here at the library. You know, me and my wife was out of town that time you were out here. Well,
it's hopefully you know, just see where I'm going to be next year. I'm planning on doing it all again, so hopefully we can. We'll even if you can't hit at the library, we'll definitely get together.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm right here, you know, Shenandoah National Park. I live 15-minute hike up to the Appalachian Trail, so I'm right here in the thick of it.
Yeah, that's and I'm. It's not like I pass through there almost every trip I go on anyway. So you know.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Mick is full of jokes tonight, isn't he?
Mick is killing me. I'm trying to be serious, but it's tough.
All right, Mike. We're once we end the are you able to hang on for a few minutes after the show?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. Thank you, Mick, for all the nice jokes that got tears in our eyes. And thank you guys for the questions. We'll be on next Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you all next week. Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.